Good morning, friends, and welcome to another episode. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at how to name, of course, we continue with naming of compounds, but we focus on oxo-acids. So, what it means is that we need to first know what oxo-acids are. This is an example of an oxo-acid, H2SO4. This is also another example of an oxo-acid, H2CO. And so what you can see about these oxo-acids is that they contain oxygen and they also contain one or more hydrogens. And in addition to the oxygen and the hydrogen, they contain another element. So that's what oxo-acids are. And we're going to look at how to name them. In fact, if you've already watched our video on how to name oxo ions, you would actually come to the realization that we name oxo acids almost the same way we name oxo anions. The only difference is that instead of ending with the word ion, in oxo acids we end with the word acid. And actually, that is the only difference between the two. But of course, we would start by looking at the basic foundations on how you can name an oxo acid. So first, as you can see from this oxo acid, no, let me start with another oxo acid. So H2SO4. We start naming oxo acid by naming the number or identifying the number of oxygens in the acid. Then, so the number of oxygens in the acid would have to be identified. In this case, it's a tetra oxo. Then you move to the next element, which is sulfur. So it will be tetra oxo sulfate. Then you identify the oxidation state of the sulfate or of the sulfur, and that should be in parentheses here. Then the last part will be acid. So it ends with acid. Remember, in oxo anions, it ended with ion. So that's the difference between the two. So here we have to calculate the oxidation state of our sulfur in this compound. Let's see if we can quickly do that so we can complete the naming of this compound. So we were having H2SO4. So the charge on this compound is 0. So we have 2 of the hydrogens plus sulfur plus 4 of the oxygens. So we have 2. Charge of hydrogen is 1 plus sulfur plus 4 of the oxygen is minus 2. That's the charge of oxygen equals to 0. That will give you 2 plus sulfur plus so that will give us minus 8 equals to 0. So that will be sulfur. 2 minus 8 will give us minus 6 equals to 0. So that means our sulfur would be having a charge of positive 6. In Roman numeral format, it will be Vi. So that's the oxidation state of our sulfur in this compound. So we go to the compound and we make it 6. So the name of this acid will be tetraoxosulfate 6. Remember, it is not an ion, so it's an acid. So that's how you name oxo acid. Let's try another example. So name H2CO3. So like we've already said, we'll start with the number of oxygens in the compound. Here it's 3. So trioxo. And it's a carbon, so it's a carbonate. Then our oxidation state will follow, but it's an acid, so we end with an acid. Let's look for the oxidation number of carbon. So we have hydrogen, 2 of it, plus carbon plus 3 of the oxygen will give us the charge on the compound, which is 0. So 2 times the charge of hydrogen, which is 1, plus carbon, plus 3 times the charge of the oxygen, which is negative 2, is equals to 0. That will give us 2 plus carbon, that will give us minus 6, equals to 0. This will give us C, the carbon, 2 minus 6 will give us minus 4, equals to 0. So the carbon will be plus 4. So that's the oxidation number of the carbon. It's 4, so that's IV. So it will be IV. So what it means that the name of this compound will be, or acid will be trioxocarbonate 4 acid. Let's try another example. So do HNO3. So it's 3 of the oxygen, so it will be a trioxo. It's a nitrogen, so it's a nitrate, right? Then the oxidation state of the nitrogen then will follow by acid. So that determines the oxidation state of the nitrogen. That will be hydrogen plus nitrogen plus 3 of the oxygens equals to the charge of the compound, that's 0. That's plus 1, that's the charge of the hydrogen, plus nitrogen, plus 3 of the charge of the oxygen, which is minus 2, equals to 0. That will give us 1 plus nitrogen minus 6 equals to 0. So that will give us nitrogen plus, let me just, that will give us nitrogen, 1 minus 6 will give us minus 5 equals to 0. So that will give us nitrogen equals to positive 5. So the oxidation number of the nitrogen is 5. So what it means is that it will be a 5 trioxonitrate 5 acid. Let's try another example. So do H3PO4. So 4 oxygens will be tetraoxo. And then it's a phosphate, or because it's phosphorus, so tetraoxophosphate. Then the ionization state of the phosphorus followed by acid. Remember, it's an acid. So we have to calculate the ionization state of the phosphorus. We have 3 of the oxygen, hydrogen, sorry, plus the phosphorus plus 4 of the oxygens equals to the charge on the compound, which is 0. So that will be 3 times 1, the charge of hydrogen, plus phosphorus, plus 4 times negative 2, the charge of oxygen, equals to 0. This will give me 3 plus phosphorus minus 8. 4 times negative 2 is 8, equals to 0. So that will give me the phosphorus. 3 minus 8 will give us minus 5, equals to 0. So phosphorus charge will be positive 5, which is V. So we'll put the V here. So the name of this compound or acid will be tetraoxophosphate 5 acid. Let's try another example. So we try H2SO3. So this is a trioxo. So it's that because of the 3 oxygens, trioxo, and it's a sulfur, so that will be sulfate. Then parenthesis is an acid, so followed by acid. So we would have to determine the oxidation state of the sulfur. Here we have 2 of the hydrogens plus sulfur plus 3 of the oxygens equals to the charge on the compound, that's 0. So 2 times charge of hydrogen is 1 plus sulfur plus 3 times charge of the oxygen, which is minus 2, equals to 0. This will give me 2 plus sulfur, then minus 6 equals to 0. So that means that sulfur, the 2 minus 6 will give us minus 4 equals to 0. So that will give us sulfur will have charge of positive 4, which is IV. So this compound or this acid will be trioxosulfate 4 acid. As simple as that. And I believe that should bring us to the end of how to name oxo-acids. Thank you very much. Please share the video. If you've not subscribed, subscribe. And we'll meet again in the next video. Hey, see you.